Forecast.
Hey guys, this is a weekly forecast for March 1st through the 5th of 2021. Okay, we'll start off with the Usdjpy pair. This is a monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. Okay, ultimately we're targeting this pivot low at 101, but before that, I'm pretty sure we'll get a pullback to 107, possibly 109, and then down to 101. Okay, so let's talk entries. We'll go over to the weekly chart. Okay, so 107 is basically this pivot low, this pivot high right here. Okay, so 109 is roughly in this area.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you enter this long trade down here, the first target, like we talked about, right, was at this gap level, right? So these gaps right here. So that's the first target. Second target is at 107, and the last target is at 109. Now, if price gets to 107, we're gonna have to see if price could strongly get out of this is the monthly chart, this trend line right here. Okay, so I'm expecting price to have a rather difficult time getting through here, so we're gonna have to see what happens at this level. Okay, and I'll keep you updated on the midweek analysis. If price could get up past this nicely, then we could see that 109 target. Okay, so let's go on to the Aussie NZD pair. Oh, and please subscribe if you like these videos, and please push the like button. It will really help me out, guys. Thank you. Okay, so the Aussie NZD, this is a monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. Okay, so we had a normal double bottom right here against a weak downward trend line. And so we're long biased until at least this trend line right here, or possibly this pivot high. However, recent price action is showing that this pullback is stronger than I thought. And so long term, I'm long biased, but in the short term, I'm short biased. Okay, so let's talk entries. Okay, so this is a daily chart. Okay, a couple days ago, there was a short trade that formed right here, but the target has already been hit. As I mentioned before, we're talking about this overall trend is still long bias, so we're taking very small targets. Okay, so the target it reached, let's go back to the weekly chart, are these trend lines right here. Okay. Right here. Okay, so that's the first target. Now, more aggressive targets will be these other two trend lines right here. This pivot, then this pivot, to this pivot. So incrementally, it may be wise to be taking small targets at these trend lines, with the ultimate target being this weekly pivot low right here. Okay. So if you enter that trade, just make sure you're taking small targets because we're still in an overarching long trend. Okay, so let's keep going. We'll go on to the Euro USD pair. Oh, and I just put out a free PDF of how to create a complete price action strategy. It's in the description below. It's basically about the process a trader needs to go through to create a price action strategy from scratch. So if you're interested, please go ahead and go download that. Okay, so the Euro USD, this is a monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. Okay, so the Euro USD is a little bit complicated, so bear with me here. Okay, so first of all, we have this trend line from this pivot to this pivot. And that trend line was broken out roughly 6 months ago. So in the medium term, I'm long biased. However, this price action right here is very strong short. So the long term, I'm down biased, at least to this pivot low right here. Okay, now there's one more. Now in the short term, I'm pretty sure price will pull back at least to this pivot low right here. So that means, let's see. So long term, I'm short biased. Medium term, I'm long biased. Short term, I'm short biased. Okay. Okay, so let's talk entries. Okay, so this is a daily chart. Okay, so if you recall, I was talking about this daily HNS being a fake. And so we were targeting this right shoulder pivot high as a target. And that target has been touched 2 days ago. So that target's been hit. Now at this point, another short trade formed right here on Friday. Okay. So for the short term, I'm targeting this pivot low right here. Right? Because I'm short term, I'm short biased. Okay. So in the near future, we're just looking for price to fall back down here to this pivot low. And then possibly from there, we're going to have to see if these trend lines, okay, right here, get respected or not, so we could take that medium term long trade, right? Okay, so we're just going to have to see how price reacts at these levels. I'll keep you updated with the midweek analysis. Alrighty. Okay, so let's go on to the Euro Yen. Okay, so the Euro Yen, this is the weekly chart. We'll start off with an overview. Okay, so we were talking about this strong long trade right here in this week short trade. And so we were long biased to at least this pivot high. That target was hit right here. And then there was another short trade, a week short trade right here. So with that, we were targeting a long trade right up to that new pivot high. And that pivot high has been touched. Okay, so at this point, all the targets have been hit. Okay, so let me clear this chart out once. Okay, so at this point, another long trade formed here. Okay, but this long trade is quite weak. So what we're looking for in the coming weeks is for possibly a short trade to form. Now, if this short trade is stronger than this long trade right here, well, then we're going to be targeting this pivot low right here for shorts. On the other hand, let's say if this trade that forms hypothetically right here is weak, then we'll be taking it long right up to this pivot high. Okay, so at this point, there's really no bias on the Euro Yen. We're going to have to see if a short trade forms, and furthermore, if it's strong or weak, and then we'll decide which way we're going to have a bias. Okay, so I'll keep you updated with this too, guys. Alright, so let's go on to the Nzdusd Eurusd. Okay, so the Nzdusd Eurusd. This is a daily chart. We'll start off with an overview. If you recall, we're talking about this week long. Okay, so it was weak, but it still went up just based on momentum. And so we were looking for a short right back down to this pivot low as a target. Okay. However, last week, there was another long trade that formed here. Okay. So at this point, this target is obsolete. Okay. So the new target will be this pivot low. However, if you look at the distance between, if you take a short to this target, it is too small. Okay. So I don't recommend taking trades that have big stop losses with small rewards. So although price may fall down to this pivot low, I don't recommend trading this trade. Okay, so now what we're looking at, let's go down to the weekly chart. Okay. On the weekly chart, this pivot low is still target, although it is not on the daily. Okay, so what we want is a strong short trade to form on the weekly chart. Okay, it has to be on the weekly chart to form. So possibly we could target that weekly pivot low right here. Okay, and some levels we're looking for to be respected. Okay, now this is the monthly chart. Is this pivot to this pivot. We want this trend line to be respected with compact price action. Okay. Simultaneously, on the lower time frame, if we could get a price pattern, so a double top, for example, right here. This is a 4-hour chart, by the way, or possibly a HNS, so a higher pivot high than the right shoulder. Okay, so yeah, for this pair too, there's no bias currently. We're just gonna see if that weekly short forms or not. Okay, so we're not gonna have any entries this week for this pair. Okay, so I think that's it for this week's weekly forecast. I hope you guys have a great week, and thanks for watching, guys. Okay, bye.